"You're not coming to the party, Rachel. You just don't look good next to her." That was the message from my mom, sharp, simple, and soaked in shame. By her, she meant my brother's new girlfriend, the one they were all obsessed with, the one they wanted me to disappear for. They said she was elegant, polished, a better fit for photos. What they didn't know was that I signed her paycheck. For the past 2 years, I'd quietly paid their bills, electricity, water, even their Wi-Fi. I said nothing. I never asked for thanks. I thought I was doing the right thing. Until they uninvited me from my mother's birthday, because I didn't look the part. That was the day something shifted. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just opened my banking app and ended everything. And 3 weeks later, while they cut cake and posed for photos, everything went dark. Literally. I hadn't been home in nearly 2 years. Not for Thanksgiving, not for Christmas, not even when my dad had surgery last spring. It wasn't out of bitterness. I just stopped reaching out. Somewhere along the way, the phone calls faded into silence, and no one on either end seemed to notice. I lived in Portland now, alone, 32 years old, running a growing digital media company that focused on women-led stories. It wasn't flashy, but we were profitable and quietly impactful. Some days we hosted panels with senators. Other days we helped interns learn how to build resumes. My family thought I worked in blogging or graphic stuff. They never really asked. Every time I brought up work at the dinner table, I'd get one of two reactions: glazed eyes or a quick change of subject. The only time my name got mentioned was if something went wrong: car trouble, tax confusion, Wi-Fi issues. Then suddenly I was useful. Growing up, I had been the backup plan. My brother Logan was the golden child, the track star, the scholarship winner, the one my mom introduced as our pride. And me? I was Rachel. She's fine. Quiet, but fine. There was always this unspoken rule in the house: don't overshadow Logan. So I never did. I sat at the edges of group photos. I clapped politely at his graduations. I even edited his job applications when he was struggling to get hired. I never brought it up. I didn't need recognition. Just fairness. Maybe a sliver of it. I remember once, 2 years ago, Mom called sounding panicked. Their utility bills had jumped unexpectedly, and with Dad on medical leave, things were tight. "Just until next month," she whispered. "If you could help, even a little." I didn't hesitate. I covered the power bill that month, then the water, then internet, and without ever being asked again, I just kept going. Every 1st of the month, the charges went out automatically. Quiet, invisible, like I had always been. And in those 2 years, not once did anyone say, "Thank you." Not once did they ask how I was doing. I convinced myself it didn't matter. I wasn't doing it for credit. I was doing it because I was the one who could. But when that text came, "You just don't look good next to her," it was as if every silent compromise I had ever made stood up inside me and screamed. They didn't just forget me. They erased me. It started with a phone call from my mom. She sounded upbeat, almost rehearsed. "Rachel, just wanted to touch base about the plans for your visit next month. Logan will be bringing someone very special this year." I smiled politely. "Great, I booked my flight already. I land 2 days early. Figured I could help you with the setup like I used to." There was a pause, a long one. And then came the shift, the kind you can hear before it lands. "Actually," she said slowly, "we were thinking maybe you'd skip this year. You know, give Logan and Ellie some space." I blinked, confused. Space from what? "I'm just visiting home. It's Mom's birthday." Her voice dropped to a murmur. "It's just, Ellie's very polished. She has a certain presence. And sometimes when you're in the same room, well, you two are very different energies. It can be distracting." "Distracting?" I repeated. "She just fits better, visually," my mom said. "Next to Logan, you know? They're a perfect match." I said nothing. The kind of nothing that fills a room. Then she added, almost like a disclaimer, "Don't take it the wrong way." I laughed not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "You're uninviting me. From my own mother's birthday." "No, not uninviting," she insisted. "Just suggesting a different plan. Maybe we celebrate another time. Just us." It was then that I realized something wasn't just broken, it had been cracking for years. This was simply the moment it fell apart in my hands. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just hung up. And for a while, I sat there, phone still in hand, the screen black, my reflection staring back at me like a stranger. Ellie. That was her name. The woman I'd approved 3 months ago for a 6-month internship rotation on our company's editorial strategy team. A Harvard grad with a clean portfolio and an overly polite tone in emails. I'd seen her twice in the office, one handshake, one performance review. She didn't know I had a brother. And clearly, my family didn't know she worked for me. But they had made one thing clear. I wasn't photogenic enough to be in their frame. I breathed in, then reached for my laptop. I opened the banking dashboard, the one with the list of monthly auto payments, power, water, internetal address to my parents' home. 3 clicks, no drama, just cancel, cancel, cancel. I didn't do it out of revenge. I did it because something in me, the part that used to try so hard to be enough, had finally gone still. And silence, for once, didn't feel like surrender. It felt like strength. The next morning, I woke up early. I didn't plan to, my body just didn't rest the same anymore. I made coffee like usual, but it tasted off. Or maybe it was just me. I sat at the counter and opened my laptop again, pulling up my transaction history. I hadn't really looked at it closely in months. The bills had been automated mechanical acts of love. I never labeled that way. Power bill. 138.27. Water. 42.16. Internet. 89.99. Every month, same rhythm. No thank you notes, no acknowledgements, just silence and expectation. I scrolled back month after month, like flipping through a neglected diary. 24 entries. The total 6,780, 2.34. It wasn't just money, it was time, space, thought. The kind of quiet commitment no one ever asks for but everyone expects from the stable child. My chest tightened. Not with anger, at least, not the sharp kind. It was more like something heavy finally acknowledging its own weight. And for what? So my mom could text me days before her birthday and say I didn't look good enough, next to a girl whose LinkedIn I had personally reviewed? So I could continue pretending this was normal? I looked around my apartment, quiet, filled with small reminders of who I'd become. A plaque from an award ceremony, a framed quote from the first article we published, a Polaroid from a company retreat. Things they never asked about, never cared to know. They thought I was just doing okay, some side project with blogs. No one had ever Googled me, no one had ever visited. But Logan? He posted a photo of his smoothie bowl, and the family group chat erupted with applause. I wasn't bitter, not anymore, just done. They had built a shrine around image, around performative success, around looking good next to the right people. And for 2 years, I had quietly bankrolled it. That realization didn't make me cry. It made me smile. Not because I wanted revenge, but because for once, I wasn't the invisible one. I was the one holding the switch. And I had just turned off the lights. I closed my laptop and stood up slowly, letting the quiet settle again. I didn't need to prove anything, not to them, not anymore. If they didn't want me in the picture, fine. But they had no idea how much of that picture I'd been holding together. The day of the birthday came like any other. Gray skies rolled over Portland, the kind that matched your mood before you even had time to feel anything. I didn't set reminders or mark it on my calendar. I didn't need to. My body remembered. It was 3 p.m. when my phone lit up. MOM, incoming call. I let it ring. A minute later, Logan, incoming call. Then, unknown number. I had to guess who that was. I turned the phone face down and let silence stretch like a second skin. 10 minutes later, the text started. Mom. Rachel. The power just shut off. We have guests here. Please fix this. I read it once, slowly, then again, as if some part of me still expected an apology to appear mid-sentence. Logan. The water's out too. What's going on? I could almost hear his irritation bleeding through the text, as if the world owed him uninterrupted comfort. Then, Ellie texted. Ellie. The internet is down. I can't get the slideshow to load. Everyone's waiting. That one made me pause. She had no idea, of course. To her, I was just the name on her performance review, not the woman who'd read her cover letter twice, who'd bumped her application forward based on instinct, not credentials. She was about to find out. Not because I was going to say anything, but because the truth has a way of slipping through cracks when silence becomes too loud. I made tea, watched steam rise, then vanish. Then I finally typed one message. Rachel. Sorry, I'm not handling household support anymore. I left it at that. No drama, no explanation, just clarity. For 2 years I had patched the holes, paid the bills, ensured their celebrations ran smoothly in the background. But this time, the background walked away. And suddenly, everything stopped working. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel power. I felt space. As if the absence of obligation had created room to finally breathe. Outside my window, the city moved, on cars passed, leaves skated down sidewalks, life continued. Inside that house, they were scrambling. Calling me not because they missed me, but because they had no backup plan. I had always been the backup plan. Not this year. This year, I chose myself. And they were about to discover what that felt like. By 5:20 p.m., my phone was vibrating nonstop. Missed calls, voicemails, texts tumbling in like an avalanche. Every few seconds, please call. This is serious. What's going on? My dad, who hadn't said a kind word to me in years, even texted, in all caps. We need electricity. People are starting to notice. I almost laughed. For the first time, they weren't ignoring me. They were depending on me. Not to be there, not to look pretty, not to take a side, but to fix everything, like I always did. Except I wasn't their invisible fixer anymore. I was just gone. And then came the video call. Aunt Valerie, the only one in the family who ever saw me as something more than a background character. She used the same outdated app we used when I was a teen, only she would try to reach me that way. I answered. She appeared on screen, standing awkwardly in the kitchen, the same kitchen I grew up in. Lights dim, conversations muted in the background. I saw flickers of confusion, Logan pacing. Mom whispering something urgent. Aren't you going to help them? Aunt Valerie asked gently, not accusing, just confused. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I watched, listened. Rachel, your mom's a wreck, she continued. People are asking questions. Ellie's trying to keep everyone calm, but... She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes moved slightly, focusing on someone off camera. Then a familiar voice cut in, clear and polished. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but... Ellie appeared on screen. Hair perfectly done, soft smile in place, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She looked straight at me. And froze. For a full 3 seconds, she didn't say a word. Then came the slip. Oh, hi Miss Hayes. She blinked. Then her cheeks flushed with confusion, realization, and something dangerously close to fear. Behind her, Logan's voice. Wait, what did you just call her? Ellie tried to backpedal. Two meant Rachel. It's just at work we call her. He cut her off. At work? More murmurs. People glancing over their shoulders. Mom and Dad now facing the screen, jaws slightly parted. Logan leaned forward. You? Work for her? Ellie hesitated, then nodded slowly. She's one of the executive directors at Pacific Wo Media, my direct manager, actually. A pause. Not the kind of pause that invites explanation, but the kind that swallows oxygen from the room. You didn't know? Ellie asked, her voice now tiny. Dad stepped back. Mom stared at the screen like she'd seen a ghost. She's your boss? Logan said again, quieter now. You mean, the same Rachel they said shouldn't come because… He stopped himself. Too late. Everyone heard it. The silence on the screen turned into something else. Not shame, not respect. Recognition. My mom fumbled for words, but nothing came. My dad finally said, "That doesn't change what happened." Ellie looked like she wanted to disappear. I didn't know she was your sister, I swear." I gave a small nod. "It's okay. I didn't bring it up. I keep work and family separate." And I meant that. Until now. Logan looked stunned. His voice cracked slightly. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I tilted my head. "Because no one ever asked." Another silence. A deeper one. Then Ellie turned toward the rest of the room. "If it helps," she said softly, "Ms. Hayes is one of the best people I've worked with. She's fair, respectful. She looked down. "I don't know why she wasn't invited today, but if I had known this was her family, I wouldn't have come." She walked off camera. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. Everyone else did the math. They uninvited their own daughter to impress a woman who reported directly to her. And now, they were left in the dark. Literally. And figuratively. I let the moment breathe. Let the weight of it rest on their shoulders the way their expectations had always rested on mine. Then I ended the call. Quietly. With dignity. Like someone who had finally taken her place in the frame, not by asking, but by being undeniable. I didn't check my phone that night. Not once. No curiosity, no, just to see. I lit a candle, made dinner, and put on music that had nothing to do with them. For once, silence didn't mean waiting, it meant peace. But the next morning, the notifications were stacked high like a tower ready to fall. 12 missed calls from Logan, 4 voicemails from Mom, a wall of texts from Dad, and 1 message from Ellie. "Rachel, I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were to them. I found out the hard way. I handed in my resignation this morning. You were never the problem. They were." I sat with that for a long time. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It was something heavier. Confirmation, maybe. That I wasn't crazy. That the subtle cruelties over the years had actually happened. I just survived them better than I thought. By noon, Logan finally sent what he thought would fix everything. "I know things got out of hand, but can you at least tell Ellie to stay? She really needs this job. You're her boss, after all. 1 word from you and she'd reconsider." I stared at the screen. 1 word. 1 word from me. That used to be all I needed to hear from them too. Just 1 word. An apology. A defense. A moment where someone said, "Rachel matters." They never gave it. And now, when their image is crumbling, when the girl they chose over me is walking away, they finally come asking for my influence. I typed carefully. "She left because of who you were, not who I am." Then I put the phone down and opened my laptop. A scheduled staff meeting was starting. I stepped into it with a steady voice, notes ready, vision clear. Not once during the meeting did I think of Logan, or Mom, or Dad. Because they no longer had space in the version of me I was finally choosing. Later that evening, I got 1 last message from Dad. "You're taking this too far. We raised you. You owe us more than this." And I replied, "For the first and last time, I don't owe anyone who made me feel less than. No more. No less." And I pressed send without shaking. A week passed. No more calls, no more frantic messages. Just a strange quiet, like the eye of a storm that had finally drifted on. Until one afternoon, as I pulled into my driveway, I saw them. My parents. standing on the porch with overnight bags in hand, like two people who decided they were ready to rewrite history without acknowledging who wrote it first. I didn't slam the door or keep them outside. I opened it. Because I wanted to see what version of the story they would try to tell face to face. We sat in the living room. I offered tea, out of habit. They accepted, out of guilt. It was my mom who spoke first. "Rachel, we thought things through. Maybe we didn't handle it right. Maybe we owe you more than we admitted." I said nothing, just nodded for her to continue. My dad cleared his throat. "We're family, and family helps each other. We raised you. We made sacrifices too. All we're asking is a little support. Not forever, just maybe 2-0 a month." There it was, wrapped in soft words, but hollow at the center. They weren't here because they had changed. They were here because they were losing control. I smiled. Not cruelly, just with clarity. "What about Logan?" I asked. "Will he be contributing the same amount?" They exchanged a look. Mom replied gently. "Logan's between jobs, and with Ellie leaving, he's not in a great place." Of course not. He never was. But I always had to be. I looked at them, my voice level. "If Logan agrees to contribute 2-0 a month, I will too. No more, no less." They didn't speak. The silence grew heavy, so I added, "Or if you want me to cover the full amount, I'll need something in writing. A legal document that states the house will be mine. Fully. No surprises." Dad's nostrils flared. "You're making us sign contracts now? We're your parents." I didn't flinch. "Exactly. And for 32 years, being your daughter has meant giving with no boundaries. I'm simply putting some in place." The room went still. They weren't used to this version of me, the one who no longer confused sacrifice with love. Eventually, my dad stood. His tone shifted. "If you care more about money than family, then maybe you're not part of this family at all." I stood too, calm, still. "Then maybe I finally learned what that really means." I opened the door. This time, they walked out. And I didn't look back. It's been over a year since that last conversation. I haven't blocked their numbers. I haven't changed my address. I didn't make a dramatic exit from the family group chat. I simply stopped replying. And in that silence, I learned something powerful. Distance isn't always punishment. Sometimes, it's protection. They never followed up. No apologies, no acknowledgement, not even a happy birthday. Which is fine. I've stopped waiting for them to care in ways they never learned how. Instead, I've invested that energy into people who do show up. Friends who knock without asking. Colleagues who respect boundaries. My team, the one I built from scratch, who believe in what we're creating, and in me. There's a quote framed above my desk now. "You're not hard to love. You're just not meant to be loved by people who only know how to need." It took me years to understand that. For most of my life, I thought being good meant being useful. That maybe, if I gave enough, stayed quiet enough, made their lives easier, I'd finally be enough. Turns out, I was always enough. They just weren't capable of seeing me beyond what I could offer. So I stopped offering. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. Now, I pay my own bills. I take care of my space, my peace, my future, and I don't apologize for it. If you're reading this wondering if you're wrong for pulling back, if choosing peace over pleasing makes you selfish, let me say this clearly. You are allowed to walk away from the people who only love you when you're convenient. You are not difficult. You're just done. And that's a beautiful place to begin.